And for the people who think this is just another DTCC pilot, what would you tell them?
It's really not a pilot. I mean, if you look in clearly the report that Roy and Chris will discuss shortly, you look at a lot of the news that's come out this week as well, you're starting to see the convergence of the holy trinity, right? Like you've got infrastructure.
Alrighty, so this is going to be a Canton related post. I'm going to play some video clips from the shared space that Yuval was on and hosted over this past weekend. And actually, I'm pretty sure this is a question that was asked from DeFi Crusader, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was the one that asked Yuval this question and the way that he responded right at the onset of the weekend call. So I want to play that because you've all mentioned some key vocabulary words. I'm going to play some video clips from DTCC representatives, Morgan Stanley representatives. Take a look at what happened over the weekend with Canton's price coming back up into the 17-cent psychological level. Talk about how I called out the market makers on Twitter, and you've all commented on this. So we're going to get into all of that in today's call. And yeah, let's dive in. So first, excuse me. Let me know if you all can hear this. This is from the clip that, or this is a clip from the space that you've all hosted. I believe it was Saturday. Shout out to Erie for posting this little tiny clip. Listen here to what he says about how we are still in this test environment. And then I want you all to take into consideration what I'm going to show you in regards to Canton's price action and this sell, this passive seller that sits at 17 cents. This is again more on the speculative side of things, but logical speculation. This is real speculation, not I'm just making this shit up. I'm going to use actual data to show you guys that what is happening right now is a freaking test, right? So check this out. Listen to what Yuval says here.
Are there any big announcement in the near future? New rollouts? The answer is yes, but the annoying answer is I cannot share what those things are, mainly because it's related to customers and cannot front run customer announcements. I think maybe related to the DTCC soft launch, I think I saw some people being disappointed that July is not the actual launch, but just a soft launch. I think that was communicated from the beginning. Again, we need to remember that DTCC houses $100 trillion of assets and run the entire US equity markets daily. And we're talking about very large number, very consequential numbers. And therefore, we really need to make sure that as we roll this, we do this carefully and diligently. So it requires a lot of testing, a lot of checks, and that's.
Okay, so you all just heard Yuval just now say it requires a lot of testing, correct? Right? So I'm not crazy. He said that. And if we come over here to the DTCC announcement, right, or this podcast from just the other day, excuse me, not an announcement. The DTCC representative Nadine, who's the head of digital assets, was on a podcast from 21 Shares, or excuse me, 51 Insights, I believe. Excuse me. And on the podcast, they had the BCG, Boston Consulting Group, and listen to what she says, how this is not a test, right? And Yuval just said, right, that we're still in the test phase. Listen to Nadine here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say this time it's really happening. And for the people who think this is just another DTCC pilot, what would you tell them?
It's really not a pilot. I mean, if you look in clearly the report that Roy and Chris will discuss shortly, you look at a lot of the news that's come out this week as well, you're starting to see the convergence of the holy trinity, right? Like you've got infrastructure, got players like DTCC, NASDAQ, and New York Stock Exchange moving into the fray. We're seeing a lot more on digital cash, whether they're stable coins or tokenized deposits. We do need cash on rail to be able to move forward. And the third component is you need regulatory clarity, which we have been blessed to receive. So what you're starting to see is institutional investors starting to move off the sideways and moving into the sidelines and moving right into it. So when we tokenize on July 15th, it is not an experiment. These are real trades, real shares, real cash moving, and hopefully that would be the beginning of a long and wonderful tokenized environment in the US market. So we are done with POCs. We're done with experiments. This is about real world assets moving on real rails to make a real difference.
Okay, so take that into consideration. you've all mentioned we're kind of still in this test environment, and the DTCC is coming out saying we're about to move from the test environment in July is game over. She also mentioned the Holy Trinity and also mentioned NASDAQ. We remember back June 26, 2025, who did NASDAQ partner with? NASDAQ and QCP set new standards for capital efficiency by connecting to Canton network, right? It says right here, NASDAQ today announced it has facilitated end-to-end margin collateral workflows on Canton network, connecting the blockchain-based technology to NASDAQ Calypso. And she mentioned NASDAQ being a part of that Holy Trinity. So you got DTCC, right, partnering with Canton. You got NASDAQ partnering with Canton, part of that Holy Trinity. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an announcement from New York Stock Exchange, right, about digital asset or Canton network in the coming days ahead. To continue down the rabbit hole, all right? So you heard here, this is not a test. Listen to what she says about July and October, okay? So we're going to come to 27 minutes in this podcast. Let's listen to what she says here.
Give us a much better future.
Yeah, Nadine, you're saying we need to get going. What is the biggest hurdle right now for you to get people into the and actually try these things?
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten like, if any of your audience is a cook, we've got the mirepoix there, right? Like we've got, as I said earlier, the infrastructure, we've got the regulation, and we've got the digital cash. Now the infrastructure is the issue right now is the overall state of readiness of these firms to start to move forward. And Mark, for 10 years, right, we have expressed a lot of frustration that we've been spending money and time and energy, yet nothing is moving. And if you look at why that was, is we sort of fragmented a market that's really had a lot of consolidation in the past, right? Like DTCC is the sole pulse trade provider in the US, but digital over time sort of fragmented that landscape because we had a lot of different firms setting up their own infrastructure. So that's hopefully coming to a point where DTCC, through our work, will hopefully act as an aggregator of data and an aggregator of liquidity and move forward. But what we did find out, though, is a lot of innovation has been done via press release over these years. And now that we're ready to move forward, I think a lot of firms are taking a step back and going, are we truly ready? Do we have the right infrastructure for wallet management? Do we have the right infrastructure for trading? Risk management. So it's not the same. A lot of people felt, and Roy hinted to that in his earlier comments, there are new novel risks that will emerge from doing what we're doing, and firms have a responsibility. We are fiduciaries. We're not managing our own money. We're managing it on behalf of others. So our risk management must be super clear. Our compliance capabilities must be super clear. Holding these wallets safe is going to be, and that's what we're seeing. So that's why we broke our go-to-market approach in two. The first phase we're doing in July is really to allow the industry to test the waters, make sure that they're ready. During the summer, we'll allow them to jump into the pool and really test out all the things that they need to do, hopefully with the big launch in October. So that, in my opinion, right now is really where we stand. But
okay, so you all heard that, right? Right now, they are freaking testing. They're in July. What's about to happen is so that these institutions can test the water. Keep all this in mind when we go to price action and I show you guys what's happening on Canton's PA right now, okay? Now, one thing I want to highlight is she said, word for word, she said, we are entering into a state of readiness for these firms to start moving forward, okay? Now we come over here and we listen to a representative from Morgan Stanley. It says right here, Morgan Stanley's 10-year bet on the future of finance. Listen to what this Morgan Stanley representative says for the first time ever they're allowed to do now.
Morgan Stanley's digital asset aspirations.
Yeah, and maybe like stepping back a little bit, I think everyone feels that, we just started this journey within the last few months, but this has really been years in the making that we've been working on a lot of this down quietly in different parts of the business. The regulatory landscape has changed and allowed us to come out more publicly with some of our market activities. And I think...
Okay, so two things she just said. Banks are working on this quietly. They have been for the last 10 years, and we're finally able to publicly announce, because of the regulatory landscape, some announcements. And if you guys remember what you've all said at the very beginning of this, he was asked the question, are there going to be major announcements coming soon? He said yes, but I can't say what because banks are still in this process. He specifically said that at the beginning. Listen.
Are there any big announcement in the near future? New rollouts? The answer is yes, but the annoying answer is I cannot share what those.
Right, And we're seeing the DTCC, where you've all said this is a test. DTCC said July, October, no more freaking testing. It's game on. You got people like Morgan Stanley coming out and saying, look, we were being quiet for this past 10 years, but now because of the regulatory landscape, we can finally come out and say what we're doing. And y'all, look, Canton Network, just 6 months ago, Morgan Stanley, another real world deployment on Canton. Morgan Stanley Wealth Management has adopted iCapital's Canton-based DLT solution to modernize its alternative business, automating subscription, document processing, improving data. So I'm showing you guys that this state of readiness for the firms to start making moves and announcing, like Canton is one of those firms for a fact that they are now comfortable announcing they are deploying on. It says it right here. This is Morgan Stanley. This lady's Morgan Stanley, right? Let's continue. What do we see in the background? Canton. Who do we have on stage? This is Coinbase Digital Asset Management, JP Morgan, right? We got a lady from, I believe this is Robinhood. And I don't remember what organization this dude stems from. But nonetheless, these two people here we're going to pay attention to. Because remember, Nadine said the infrastructure is ready and in place. This lady said regulation and the infrastructure is firmly in place. Listen to what this guy says here.
Security risks, I'm on chain, I'm not private, right? So there's a lot of things that go into that. Now, what happens though is the market then goes and looks for other sources of yield. And this is what really drives the pendulum swings hard into tokenized assets during this environment, because the millions of users who are engaging in these protocols want sources of return that have lower drawdown risk and that have more sustainable returns. So that drives the need for T-bills. So there's probably 45 different T-bill products today that have been tokenized and are available either in US jurisdictions or non-US jurisdictions. Those are now being embedded into protocols, and they're now building a floor for the DeFi yields that used to only be leverage based. The next wave of this is to bring equities in and to bring credit in and to bring, eventually it'll be infrastructure, eventually it'll be real estate one day, right? We'll get all traditional markets reformatted onto blockchain. And then that serves the need long-term, which is to build full multi-asset class portfolio construction. But this is what you're seeing today is really market structure development. This isn't us bringing products on chain for portfolio construction needs. It's market structure. And that's the...
Y'all, he just said we are in the process of formatting all assets onto the blockchain. This is the infrastructure process, right? If we come back over here to what Nadine says here, listen to how she reiterates exactly what that dude just said.
I would also say on the fund management side, fully echo what they both Chris and Roy said. And the beauty here is it also opens up new distribution channels for these fund families and fund management firms. So we usually look at one side of the equation. I think the cost benefits will be a bit slower to come across, because what we're gonna realize too is a full retooling of the front, middle, and the back office as this proceeds. But the most immediate impact for the firms that have the courage, if you will, to rethink their distribution model, their commercial and operating model, you'll see an uptick a lot faster. So there's a lot of promise to this technology, but we've got to get going. And
she literally just said they're retooling the financial system, right? It's a full retooling of the financial markets. And then, right? And so remember, she's talking about wealth management firms. Y'all, look, wealth management has adopted Canton-based DLT solutions to modernize alternative business. Like the vocabulary is there. If I was just making this up, trying to put in wealth management and pretend like she didn't just say wealth management, then I'd be called crazy. But she is literally saying the same exact vocab that is taking shape right now on Canton, deployed by Morgan Stanley. And you have people on stage saying, look, now we're ready to come out, right? So last clip I'm going to play here, 44 minutes and 40 seconds. Listen to what she says, because this gives me hope that there are going to be many more blockchains announced from the DTCC.
Working with Stellar, I think you have your own chain that's partly.
Yes,
and I know that you started working with Canton. You also started working with Stellar. I think you have your own chain that's partly built on the EVM standard from Ethereum. How do you think about that multi-chain world and not building walled gardens?
We're clearly not building walled gardens, right? We truly believe in the power of interoperability, and we believe in an open ecosystem. And what you're going to see, when Roy was talking about the challenges of different financial institutions on different sides, it may not be digital technology, may not be right front and center of what they're worried about, but you're also seeing the world becoming a lot more interconnected in this space, and we're moving away from vertical ecosystems into more network driven organizations. So yes, everybody wants to be the standard of the chain of choice. We personally don't believe, and I rambled off the numbers that we're dealing with. There's nothing out there that can handle the speed, the scalability that we need. So we are working with the market, and actually we've done a fair amount of work with BCG and the two other large ICSDs in the marketplace to start to think through what standards we can put in place. So I'm less concerned about how many chains we're operating on, as long as we've got good interoperability standards, good data standards, good risk standards, if you will, that we can overlay over that. So that is what's driving, Mark, our multi-chain strategy. Canton and Stellar and Besu are among the first. I promise you they will not be the last, and they'll see more. But we have to do a lot of work behind the scenes to get comfortable that a chain, that a chain is, I don't know if you can still hear me. Here we go. Apologies for that.
We can hear you,
That a chain, first of all, satisfies client requirements. So that's the first request. The second one is liquidity, and then a lot of technical terms there. So we are building the harmonization layer that sits on top of it to ensure that you can move assets very easily among the various.
All right, so you all heard it there from her. This is not speculation. This is not some random Twitter person's opinion. Anybody that tells you that they're not going to be sitting on multiple different blockchains is a liar. She just said Canton and Stellar are the first. So I would even go outright and say that everybody speculating that the DTCC is using XRPL right now is really just speculating, because right now she just said they're only using Canton, Stellar, and Besu, right? There's been no other announcements, so everything else is speculation. But good news is there could be announcements in regards to XRPL or Hedera or many others, right? Chainlink, whatever the case may be. So take that from the horse's mouth, not opinion, to formulate your own, research. I thought that was very interesting. Leading over here to this post, where back on May 21st, 2026, so shout out to Scalper for our institutional dark pools. We had mentioned buyers still need to overcome the 17-cent threshold before we can expect any significant higher prices on Canton in a bullish scenario. And to the downside, we needed to be mindful of dark pools around the 13,916. Well, if we come over here to the most recent price action, we go back to when I had posted this. If we come down and we look at the date, May 21st. May 21st was when price action was here. Here in this area. We failed to break above 17 cents as highlighted in the analysis, and we came straight down to the absolute point. You cannot make this up, to the 13,916. I personally had some buy limits set at that level that got executed. And where did we come straight back up into? The 17-cent threshold. And y'all, there is no effing way that this is not some market maker. There's no way. This is somebody with volume that is able to defend against every single time a buyer tries to break this level. This, to me, is an institutional participant suppressing Canton's price because they know what's about to come, right? Or something. There is some formal institutional player that is able, with enough volume, to stop buyers in their tracks every single time, right? And so look at this post I said here. This is a message to the institutional player at 17 cents passively defending on Canton. We see you. When the buyers finally beat you, it's going to be amazing to watch. 7 times in 2026, they have defended one area. This is not a retail investor sitting at 17 cents. This is a market participant with size. And when their sell volume is engulfed by buy volume, their sell volume will turn into more buy volume. And you've all down here said, whoever is screwing us at 17 cents needs to stop, right? So that to me is validation that my analysis is correct. This is an institutional player. Now think about what you've all said. Of course, he can't tell us that they're testing, right? But he said that there are tests happening. What did Nadine say? July, October, the testing is done. We're not in a test phase anymore. Y'all, please tell me this doesn't look like some tests. Like, this shit looks like, boom, back down to 17 cents. Boom, 17 cents. Boom, 17 cents. Boom, 17 cents. What is this going to look like when this breaks, right? I personally think that when this breaks, it is going to be whatever institution is sitting here defending this level is going to let the floodgates are going to open, in my opinion. I've looked at multiple different altcoins, and none of them have done this before. I have not seen this level of accuracy at one level on any altcoin. If you have, bring it to my attention, because I'm trying to buy that altcoin too. But this, I have not seen. And so what I'm going to continue to show you guys in the rest of today's call is they are choosing Canton. And I firmly think that there's an institutional participant that's being told, suppress Canton's price before institutional adoption comes. Every single time we come up into 17 cents so the institutions can load up, because they're clearly choosing Canton. So if you all didn't pay attention, Canton jumped into the 13th spot over the weekend, surpassing Zcash, ADA, and Link, right? Canton Army posted this, and I had to agree, where they said Canton breaking into the top 10 by the end of the year is a real possibility. And I said, I never post bullish predictions, ever. But this is possible in my honest opinion. And so I have to agree. I personally think that Canton will reach top 10. It's only 3 spots away from that now. I think now it's in like number 14 or 15 spot. And honestly, to me, that's personally peanuts. People faded Canton at 6 cents. Don't fade it at 16 cents. Because when this 17-cent threshold breaks, again, my personal opinion, not financial advice, it is going to be nuts when it does happen, right? Coming over here to show you guys some more detail to prove that institutions are adopting these technologies. Institutional adoption is moving far beyond experimentation. So don't just take it from the video clips that we collect here in the CyberX community. Let's look at the document. Shout out to Break Free for sharing this most recent document. This is the Tokenization 2030 City Report, Wall Street On-Chain, June 2026. And look at what they're saying. Let's read their words. Institutional participation is now moving beyond experimentation, with tokenization being used in issuance, trading, and post-trade workflows. Regulatory clarity is improving across major jurisdictions, providing some legal certainty for institutional adoption. More importantly, we think this transformation will not arrive as a single disruptive change. We do not expect a sudden flip from traditional markets to fully tokenized ones. Adoption still remains early, so the train has not fully left the station. Previous tokenization waves struggled to scale meaningfully due to a variety of factors. Regulatory uncertainty, constrained implementation, and enforceability. Secondary market liquidity was limited. Infrastructure was fragmented, and critically, there was no regulated on-chain cash. These constraints, however, are now beginning to ease. Several independent catalysts are now aligning to move tokenization from experimentation towards broader adoption. Directly in the report. Let's go to JP Morgan. Why is JP Morgan important? Here's their payments outlook. 5 shifts powering payment in 2026. And what's one of the things that they highlighted? It says right here, the potential for blockchain to transform the financial landscape is shifting from theory to reality. 60% of Fortune 500 companies say they are planning to implement blockchain initiatives. Okay? And this is coming directly from JP Morgan. It says it right down here at the bottom. Well, if we come back over here to the JP Morgan representative, who is this man? It says it right here. This is Dennis Castillo, Connexus by JP Morgan, sitting on this Canton stage, and listen to what he says here.
And I think the only way to get that is through the public chain.
Yeah, I think so. For us, it's very much an and approach right now. I guess for a while we were kind of the poster children at JP Morgan for private permission blockchain network. And I think the reality is a lot of the use cases we develop in the private chain will remain there, some of that for privacy related reasons. So for example, we facilitate about $5 billion per day of intraday repo transactions, which, in some days are providing some financial plumbing, like major pieces of financial plumbing for the overall financial system. And so putting that on a public chain right now probably just isn't tenable, just given where the privacy solutions are today. But that doesn't mean that we're not also deploying assets on public chain where we see the momentum heading. It is this mutualized infrastructure, it's fully transparent, and people are getting comfortable with holding assets on public chain as well.
Now, what public chains is JP Morgan choosing? That's the question, because he just said they process $500 billion of repo per day, y'all. So am I really crazy to think that this is possible, where Canton could sit at $192 billion market cap, which would put it at a $4.96 range? I do not think that that is unrealistic, considering that they're working with JP Morgan Connexus, look at this, who just admitted on stage that they are using public, and they are processing 500 billion daily transactions. Digital Asset and Connexus by JP Morgan announced intention to bring USD JPM coin natively to the Canton network. This is from the beginning of this year. But look at what was said. This is more important. Digital Asset and Connexus by JP Morgan, the firm's industry-leading blockchain business unit, announced their intent to collaborate on the native issuance of Connexus by JP Morgan deposit product token on the Canton network. If we scroll down here to what was said by this gentleman or this lady, Naveen Malala, global co-head of Connexus by JP Morgan, said, this collaboration, I repeat, this collaboration, not a collaboration with XRPL, not a collaboration with Stellar, not a collaboration with Solana or Ethereum. This collaboration with Canton moves the industry forward in transacting on public chains. What did the dude just say? At a Canton conference, we are choosing public chains, but not all, only few. And one of them that they're choosing is Canton. JPM Coin delivers the security of bank issued deposits and settlement combined with speed of innovation 24/7, near real-time blockchain transactions. In bringing JPM Coin to Canton, we can further increase efficiency and unlock liquidity. So again, no speculation in this call here. I'm showing you all that Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, NASDAQ, DTCC are all telling you all Canton is one of the ones, not the only one, but is for a fact one of the ones. So you can see now why I'm bullish on Canton. I'm bullish on other assets as well, but Canton is one of the ones that I'm bullish on. And when this dam breaks, whoever this institution is at 17 cents that is suppressing price, when their sell volume, and again, I'm not putting a time on this. I'm not saying when this happens or if buy pressure, buy volume is going to continue after this happens. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, but this is for a fact suppression by some large entity with enough volume to stop buyers in their tracks every time price comes into 17 cents. And I'm willing to speculate that one day when we're trading above this institutional participant and we turn 17 cents into a floor and real utility turns on, I don't want to be caught in Canton's price action not having bought in this area, right? Because I don't know if tomorrow price is going to drop down to these lower level dark pools. I'm not here with the crystal ball to detect that, but I do know that if buyers prevail above this current price suppression, we're likely going to experience some very decent PA to the upside. And I want to be a part of that anomaly. All right. So I just thought that I'd share that with you guys and gals. Again, not financial advice. I'm just here in an attempt to do my research, my personal research, and connect the dots. And nothing that I said here is speculation, except for speculating that one day Canton's market cap could be this high. That's the only speculation that I made here. But everything else that I just put up to you guys about Morgan Stanley working with Canton, JP Morgan working with Canton, all these institutions confirming that we are about to move from experiment to real production is all real. None of that's speculation. So do with that, again, what you all please. I'm here in an attempt to just share forward some of the research that is put inside our private Discord. So I thought that that would be a good breakdown for today to show you all. Anyways, as always, blessings to you all. I'll leave the floor open for questions. I'll stop sharing screen and we can have a conversation. And if not, then I'll let you all enjoy the rest of your day. 2 Zoom calls out of the way.